listeners to episode 45 of the Running Guide podcast, where I aim to provide informative content and interviews with elite athletes and health professionals from around the world, like in today's episode, where I'm chatting to a Brisbane runner who's part of the growing talented team at the Gold Coast Run Co. and just ran a sensational 63:31 half on the Gold Coast 2 weeks ago, finishing in third spot. Welcome to the Running Guide podcast, Tim Vincent.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to it, Tim. Let's start with the Goldie half. What were your sort of hopes leading in? How were you sort of feeling in the sessions in the week prior, and how did the race unfold?
Yeah, cool. So it was actually a really weird build up for me. So probably one of my most interrupted of recent memory. So I'm a uni student in my fourth year of Clinical Exercise Physiology. So I'm kind of getting all the pracs out of the way at the moment. So yeah, adjusting to full-time kind of work hours, which is, that's what we've all got to do. But it was very new to me and I kind of struggled a bit with that. So training, normal, gets interrupted. That's life. Doing workouts solo at random hours. So it was all just like a new kind of experience. And the way that my body was responding to the workouts was, the effort was there, but the quality of sessions wasn't. And I don't necessarily think that was because I wasn't fit, but I was just generally so tired. So it was pretty hard to read the kind of shape that I was in.
What are you actually doing that's taking time away from your training?
Yeah. So clinical exercise physiology, going through, pracs at the moment. So a lot of that'll involve, just a pretty standard work day. And obviously with the added pressure of assessments and stuff in there. So, some days, like anything, you'll stay back and kind of prioritize it a bit more than, training. You just got to get through it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And you're in your fourth year, is that right?
Yeah. So see the light at the end of the tunnel, one more semester.
All right, let's get back to the race, mate. So there was a little bit of uncertainty going in, a lot of sessions on your own. So you live in Brisbane, but you train on the Gold Coast, is that correct?
Technically, yes. I'd say previously to this year, I haven't actually been able to get down to the coast much this year. I do most of my work in Brisbane, actually. I try to get to the coast on a Saturday. My main training partners are also kind of Brisbane-based, except Liam works on the Gold Coast. So the way we kind of operate midweek this year has tended to kind of be by ourselves. It just hasn't lined up well. Yeah, so that's coming into Gold Coast. Yeah, a lot of work by myself, not a whole lot of racing that I was necessarily happy with either. And I'm a big confidence runner and kind of just didn't have that going into it as well. So it was different in that sense.
And how did the race unfold? I mean, you picked up third spot. That's not bad. Is that what you're sort of hoping for? Were you running on a time or position, or just really wanted to have a good knock?
Yeah, so I was running for position that day. I was going into it, kind of sounds a bit stupid now, but I was hoping for top 8. It was a pretty loaded field. Kind of just wanted to put myself in it. I probably didn't do that enough. So anyone who saw the stream, the boys out front, Liam, Brett and Ed, went out pretty quick. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I probably should have gone with that because they did slow down towards about 10K, I think it was.
Okay.
I was on the second group. So there were 2 Kiwi athletes, Liam Buden and myself. Big kudos to Liam Buden. So he was actually the workhorse of our group and pretty much sat on the front for about 15K. And we started to reel the other boys in out front and we had a bit of a crack. I managed to get off the front of our group, caught Liam Adams with about a K to go. But it was I'd left way too much to do to kind of get anywhere near Ed, who was further up the road. So even though I closed pretty well, don't get me wrong, I ran as hard as I could. I was absolutely busted by the end of it. But there's always that what if? It's good in between run, but I hope next start over the half I could put myself in the race a bit more.
Yeah, as in being in that front group rather than the chase group.
Yeah, or even if it is too quick, find out if it's too quick. Be in the race because I didn't feel like I was in the race that day.
Bit of a history lesson heading back. When did you start running and why? Was there sort of influences or doing other sports like a lot of kids do, or how did it all unfold?
Yeah, so we probably briefly touched on this anyway when you and I messaged. So I love my football or soccer. That was my main sport till about 14. I started running at 10 years old through the school sports system here in Queensland. That was just pure luck though. So I was kind of getting to states off no training.
So is this cross country or are you talking on the track?
Yes. Sorry, yes. So I never actually ran track. It was all crossy. Loved my crossy, did trail running, and then loved soccer. So played that Every time it was track season, I'd have a break. So I'd have 6 months off and run cross country every year.
Yep.
And I did that till I was about maybe 14 and it started taking running a bit more seriously. So that's where I'd say there was a switch, like in terms of time and effort to the two sports. Like running took over at about 14.
Were you playing, we'll call it soccer, at a reasonably high level or?
Yeah. So I was playing, look, anyone who knows soccer is, they change the systems in the leagues pretty much every year. But at the time it was called BJL. So it was like the top league you could play as a 14-year-old in Brisbane.
Okay.
And had a pretty crash hot team. Like we won a few grand finals, a few premierships, and a few of the guys are doing quite well now, still playing. So it was a pretty good team, pretty high level. And that's kind of why I stopped in that sense. Like the demands for soccer required that it be the only sport that I do. And I was not ready to focus on one sport. So I kind of got half my choice, but mainly just because I got dropped from the side because I was, tired from running and, missing strength and conditioning trainings to go to running training.
Soccer and then moved over to running. Yep. So you're doing cross country. So you're making nationals?
I made not really. I'd always get to state. That was my one big thing I actually pride myself on. So from year 5, I think it is?
Yes, that's
year
right.
5 to year 12.
Yep.
I was the only boy in my region to make the regional team every single year.
Okay.
So I got to states every single year. Some years it was a sprint finish and I was coming 5th, but I only made nationals like with the school sport team twice out of my whole high school life. Yeah.
Brothers and sisters?
Yeah, very, very sporty family. So I got twin sister and an older sister. They both ran. I think there was one year where we all went to state cross country, but they do it more for a bit of fun. My older sister loves soccer as well. So does dad. We're all just playing sport, like not necessarily to a high level, but we're all active and doing something always.
Before we have a quick break and watch Stewie run the 1500 in a few minutes, let's see if we can get through your PBs. 1500 metres we've got here up there in Brizzy. November 14, 2020, you ran a 3:49.56.
Yep, I'm actually quite chuffed with that one. I know it's not much for a 1500, but that's about the only one I've run. That was during COVID as well, so had the rare opportunity to I was genuinely training for that 1500, doing a lot of speed work.
Yep.
And the way the race played out on that day, I felt like I executed very, very well, kind of my ability over 1500.
Look, I don't think you've run too many 3000s because this is slow by your standard, but and this is IAAF, but they got you down for an 8:29 3000 back in 2019 up there at Sheldon in Brizzy.
Yeah, so I think I've actually split faster than that in a few races.
Yeah,
but
I reckon you would,
that's what I mean. It's like I probably neglect the track stuff a bit too much. Love my road, love my crossy, and I like to have downtime in my seasons as well. So the last few years, it kind of falls a lot of the time around, when our 3K champs are on.
Mate, your 5,000 metres you set, PB this year at Adelaide, 13:49.62 in February, finishing in 12th spot at the Track Classic there.
Yeah, once again, that was actually I said this before the race to a few people. That night in Adelaide, the conditions were probably the best I've ever seen for running.
Okay.
Shame Zatopek wasn't actually like those conditions. I genuinely felt that night, had I run a 10K, I could have run something pretty good. Nonetheless, I was very chuffed with that 5K run. The only thing I probably could have executed a bit better, if anyone watched the race, was there was a group that got away, and I kind of let them get away thinking they were going to run about 13:25, 13:30. And all of a sudden, a lap later, I kind of kept running the same pace, and it took me about 2 laps, and I think I dropped to 64, and I got back onto the group. So I kind of had to waste a little bit of energy and kind of got caught in no man's land a bit. Look, we're only talking a fraction of seconds here, so it was a pretty perfect run by my standard, but there was,
pretty deep field, 12 spot for a 13:49. There was some good runs there.
Yeah. I was chuffed, and a few of those names in the field and the people like Jude Thomas I was training with at the time, to even get 4 seconds off him on the track. I was actually with him at the last 200. So there's a fun fact for anyone out there. He put 4 seconds into me in the last 200. He is rapid. Good fun nonetheless.
10,000 metres we got up there in Brizzy. Now this is a big race. Queensland Championships at Cusack there. September 2021, you ran 28:59.75. So first sub 29 for you, 7-second PB.
To do that in Queensland was pretty big for me, and it was actually kind of accidental. So The race was set up for Liam Buden. We had Louis pacing for about, I think, 14:25 through 5K. Once again, I didn't kind of think I could do that, but that was the pace, so I just rolled with it. Liam actually didn't take the pace initially, so I slotted in front of him and just thought, screw it, let's see what happens. And I had a good day. Louis, big credit to him. That's probably the reason I got there. He got me through 6K of that. Really only had to grit my teeth for, 2 or 3K, and then the rest takes care of itself. Probably one of my more impressive runs to do on Queensland soil, because anyone who's run up here knows it's possible, but to do in a less dense field in an afternoon in Brisbane isn't easy.
Was it stoked to go under 29, or was just more happy about the actual race itself, and that was just a bit of a cherry on top?
No, we were kind of all running for time that day anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Or obviously the win's important because there are a few of us in that field. I think Jude was running that day too, so everyone wanted to win, but not to a point where it's tactical, and Louis volunteered to pace. So the win was the bonus, and we all kind of wanted to try and make sure we got a good time to get us into Zatopek, because the quality of running right now in Australia is pretty high. You do need to run yearly times that are competitive to prove you're good enough to be in that Australian Championship.
All right, team, let's move on to the road. IAAF always have the old 5K Noosa Bolt in there, mate. So they got you down there for a 14:11 in 2021, finishing in full spot. Do you like heading up there? Is that sort of a regular for you?
Yeah, it's a pretty regular race for everyone up here, because it's just even if you're not fit, it is the best weekend away up at Noosa.
Sure, yeah. It's a big triathlon weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not a Sunday race. It's a Saturday afternoon. So,
sure.
You go at dinner, see everyone, usually a few guys come up from interstate as well. So it's a good catch up.
Yep.
Get a nice long run, hit the beach. It's just a really good weekend. The way the actual race played out, it's pretty quick in terms of previous years and stuff. Yeah, once again, I lost touch with the main group. So it's 1.25K laps with 2 roundabouts at each end. So I lost touch on the last lap, but managed to actually reel a few guys back in from that lead group over the last bridge. Yep. So once again, kind of just had a good run. I just ran my own pace, but lost contact. Grego, Brucey were too strong. Louis tried to go with it, got enough of a gap ahead of me, and then I reeled a few stragglers in.
All right, 10K down at Lornie, 2021 in June, 29:22, 6th spot.
Yeah, look, I've been there 3 times. I've done the 10 the last 2 years. Can't seem to, hit the nail on the head. This year, sick, DNF, first one ever. Last year, which is my official PB, felt like I executed the race pretty well. Might have just been tired from high volume in training, who knows, or very quality field. We got blown away by Isaac Hayne. It's still one of the most impressive runs I've physically witnessed in a race. We got obliterated and no one in the field. So he won in about 29:06 and just ran off the front the last 5. I was in a big group and I tried to get rid of them for about 3K towards the end. I made 2 or 3 moves and I could never get more than 10 or 20 meters. Made my final move coming into the home straight. Absolutely hilarious. We all laugh about it now, a few guys like Archie Reed, Kieran Tall, Liam Buden. So I made the mistake of not knowing where the finish line was. I had a rough idea. I've turned this last corner and I've already put my foot absolute down to the floor.
Yeah.
Got about 20 meters on the boys and I'm this is good. We're going to finish second here. Because, it was a massive group from 2nd to 8th. And I was we're in the money here. Turn right, hit this headwind in my face and see probably at least a 300 meters straight. Look, what did I come? I think 6th or something it says on there. Good race, lovely experience. And I still joke with the guys to this day. It's probably the quickest I've ever closed my last 600 meters in a race. It was absolutely wild and a really cool racing experience. But I'd like to hope I can run a bit quicker over the roads. I've had last year in November we had the Bridge to Brizzy 10K up here, so I was lucky enough to win that one, and I think that was 28:45. But nonetheless, the course isn't certified, so look, could be anywhere within 100 meters, I'd guess. Who knows? Could be short, could be long. I don't think it is. My gut feelings maybe 50 short.
Yeah.
But that's probably my best 10K run, even though it's not certified.
Interesting you talk about runs that weren't certified, because I'm looking at the history of your half marathons. Obviously, you ran the Goldie we just spoke about, the 63:31 only a few weeks ago. There's a race in March over in
Yes.
Rome, 61:43, not legal. What's going on there?
Yeah, cool. So there's like the easiest way to explain it. There's like rules that you need to have like a legal course. So there's the net descent rule, and it satisfies that. So it's a legal result in terms of qualifying for major championships, personal bests, world teams, whatever.
Yep.
So that result can be used for those circumstances.
Okay.
But where it didn't satisfy, not to get an asterisk, is point A to B. So like Boston Marathon, same kind of thing. What's the official rule? It's got to exceed point A and B, has to be within, half the race distance? I don't know, something like that. But yeah, this one started in Rome and ran out to the water. So it's 21K apart, like City to Bay, like Boston Marathon. So all those results, you can qualify for championships off them, but they're not eligible for world records, Australian records, any sort of records.
So you're putting that one down as your PB?
Look, I leave people to make up their own mind.
Yeah.
The reason why it's probably quicker than all my other ones is it's actually not. It is the point A to B. So we had a massive tailwind that day. It was a cold front in Rome, and I Googled it, and basically the wind that comes through after a cold front apparently is a northwesterly, and we were running, what's direct opposite of that? I think southwest, down this literal highway, just southwest, wind in our back. I actually didn't even have a group with me. Like, I just time trialed that. Nonetheless, I'm not going to rob myself of anything because I worked bloody hard, ran as hard as I could. But yeah, I think the tailwind played a big part in that result.
It's a fantastic time. What other Aussies were running that race?
I think I was the only one, because I went over for the World Uni Cross, which was actually 6 days later. So yeah, I was a bit cooked for that.
Yeah, we'll chat about that in a sec, actually. And the other one that down here is the Melbourne Marathon Festival last December, 62:47 where you finished third. But why is that not down?
Mate, I wish I could tell you, because to be honest, that's another one of my, like, to run that there. Anyone who's run Melbourne knows it's not a slow course, but it's not the easiest place to run on that specific course. I mean, so look, I'd love that one. I don't know why it's on my profile, but not as a PB. I don't make the rules. I kind of also don't really care. I just run. But look, I agree. It'd be nice to have that one as a PB. It's something to do with, maybe they didn't get it certified that year. I don't know. But there's something obviously happened with that race. And it's not just the half, it's the Mara, because I think Ed had the same thing on his. But look, I don't like getting into that stuff. I just run. I do my job.
Let's talk about your weekly structure now. It may vary, I can imagine, with your studies and that, but let's just talk about how you sort of manage through your week. And let's also start talking about the Gold Coast Run Co. You mentioned Jack O'Elliott. I think he mainly looks after the elite squad. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Monday, depending how I'm feeling, look, it's pretty cruisy, usually around like 17K or something, 80 minutes, nothing too strenuous, maybe a few strides. I kind of tend to neglect them as a bit more than I should, because I just like the distance stuff. But the turnover is so good and important for guys like me, because it doesn't come easy. Usually depends if I'm doing track the next day. So that'll lead to Tuesday. Usually
is it Monday just an AM run?
Yeah, well, depends on life. Usually like to try and get it done in the morning. Yeah, Tuesday. So I do a workout, preferably in the AM, but once again, life, prac, uni, whatever. So a workout, usually it's like a fartlek kind of thing, around 30 minutes. Popular one we do is like 3-2-1 with half recovery. What else do we do? Something like 2-minute reps with 1 minute recovery. And sometimes like today or yesterday, on the track. So trying to roll a bit quicker before races. So Tuesday's usually around 8 to 10K in volume, but recovery, that's the one thing I noticed. It's all active recovery on a Tuesday. So we don't, you're not really ever standing still. Then I'll usually do about a 35 minute double, and that's Tuesday wrapped up.
Is this with the Run Co on the Goldie? Are you driving down for this or?
Nah, I used to. Yeah, so this is by myself, usually at UQ. Sometimes I'll just head to my local. I live like near this bike path that runs for about 25 kilometers through this creek in Brisbane. So I'm pretty lucky to have that. Okay. So I can go there for workouts. Wednesday, I usually like to try and, depending if I got racing coming up, I like to go long. So sometimes I get up to like 90 minutes, even like hour 45, but I've really got to have like no races coming up, because the hour 45 on a Wednesday, like, it knocks me round. Yeah, so preferably usually 90 on a Wednesday.
And what do you that's just mainly on the road, or do you always try to stay to the softer stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So traditionally, I always run on the grass beside the footpath. Recently, I've kind of just been jumping a bit more of both, but if anything, more concrete, just trialing a theory of, like, trying to get some strength in the legs, bang them up a little bit. I don't mind running sessions feeling crap, because, some race days you feel crap. I like to kind of try and get comfy, if you like, with not feeling good. So then, when you do feel good, it's kind of like a bonus.
Hey, what sort of shoes are you bouncing around in? Do you sort of rotate a few pairs?
Yeah, at the moment I'm in Adidas Supernova Plus, so they're not too bad. That's like my mileage shoe, getting to the end of its life. What am I using? Sessions, I'm in like the Asics Metaspeed Sky Plus. And then I do love the Nike Invincible for pretty much like warm downs, double runs. Anytime you feel like you're proper cooked, it's basically like a cheat shoe. Well, that's how it feels anyway. It's like, almost imagine like what an Ultra G, I reckon, would feel like. That's kind of like a shoe that does that.
Okay.
Thursday, what do we do Thursdays? So Thursdays usually a bit more interval like. So maybe not on a track. It's a weird one, actually. So we can do, it really depends on the stage of year. So we can do intervals, we can do long hill reps, and the other one we can do is like a long threshold. So I'll just go off last week, for example. What we have, I think it was a 35-minute threshold. So as I was kind of saying previously, I chose to do this on road or footpath. Just wanted to simulate that feeling of like a decent amount of time on the legs on bitumen, because I do tend to forget how much of a toll it actually takes.
Sure.
Just the constant repetitive banging.
So when you say we, you're still doing these on your own, but you say we because it's a program for the squad?
Yeah. So okay. That's my bad. So yeah, I'm still doing this by myself. Everything midweek's by myself. Yeah, we as a group, we're all kind of given the same session. So we just do that on our own. If we can, we'll meet up, but we're doing the same stuff nonetheless.
Jacko's sort of looking at Strava data, or is he sort of, how do you sort of communicate how the session went, and how does he sort of track that?
Yeah, so Strava, but also we've got like a group chat on Messenger. So kind of flick stuff through, any issues, any problems.
Yep.
Even just the way he wants it done, which is important too. So probably just Messenger. Fridays where I differ to maybe like if you talk to Louis or Jordo or Liam, I like my Friday as like it's not a rest day, but it's the closest thing you'll get to a rest day without being not running. So I do anywhere from 60 minutes to 70 minutes, proper slow, like not a waste of time, because otherwise I wouldn't run, but pretty close to it. I have a thought in my head every Friday that is, if I feel like I need a break, or if I feel like I'm not getting a break at the pace that I'm doing, slow down till you feel like you're getting a rest day.
Sure.
So some days I've had easy runs where I haven't gone under 5-minute Ks, and I've had other ones where I've run 4:20s, but it is the one day that I really run to feel it's got to be my rest for the week. That's Friday, because I work pretty hard most days.
Good you said that, because that's what I was going to ask. I was going to head back to your Wednesday run and say, that run where you say you want to run 80, 90 minutes, depending on what's happening with racing, do you run on feel and you just let the legs sort of tick over and let the body do what it wants to do, or do you hold yourself back? So obviously on the Friday, you try to just really run easily. If the legs just want to start ticking over a bit quicker, so be it, but it's more that this is a day where I can just sort of kick back a little bit and let the body, it's like an active recovery day. Whereas Wednesday, you sort of go on feel, or do you actually try to push
Friday's
the pace a bit?
Friday's also for the mind. Wednesday, look, if I'm feeling good, I will lean in. Not hard, but, if there's a hill, I'm feeling good. I won't take the piss out of it. I'll run it. I'm not worried about tiring myself out for Thursday. Like I said before, if anything, I actually don't mind that. And Friday's, my chance to kind of undo the last 6 days and do it all again. Saturday, on an ideal week, we go down to the Gold Coast, mainly to see each other and get coffee, to be honest, because we'll run first. But long reps.
What's that these days? About 40 minutes on the highway, or how long does it take to get down there?
No, I'm north side of Brisbane too, so with no traffic, probably 70 minutes. Yeah, so the Saturday's usually our chunkiest in terms of volume, just because everyone works. we can kind of get together most of the time and do it. So it's just, a lot of other groups will do like their Tuesday is a big one, but that's like our Saturday. So yeah, it can be a long threshold if we do hills on a Thursday. It can be K reps. It can be a hard track workout. So once again, it kind of is like that Thursday where it just depends on what time of year it is as to what we do. Around this time of year, it would be something like 8x K. And if we're moving really well, you know, we might play around with the pace on them too. So that makes that a bit more challenging when you're told on the 5th or 7th one to, or both, to kind of, empty the tank.
Sunday long run?
Yeah. And the other thing I quickly forgot. So
Yep.
I'll double 3 session days, all 30, 35 minutes. And then Sunday long run, usually if I'm racing a big race or one I really care about, I'll do 90 minutes. Apart from that, usually hour 45 to 2 hours.
On the hard stuff or the soft stuff?
Yeah, so kind of depends stage of year. Recently, I've been banging the concrete in shoes with not a lot of support, and I really feel it. I was doing that up to Gold Coast. I think it served me well. But yeah, given I'm coming into a bit of racing now, I'm sure most people are, it's a busy time of year, so I probably will do more like hour 45 now, even some weeks with the Invincibles and even on grass.
Is that on feel?
Yeah, completely on feel. And like racing, in and around racing. I don't usually... Some groups do a pretty hard long run, or, you know, they might lean in a bit more, but we don't tend to do that just with 3 sessions in the week. I personally just feel like I'm reaching too much if I'll, you know, get into the long run. You know, I might average 4:15, 4:20, and the only reason it's that average is, you know, I might start at 4:40 and finish at, you know, 4:10s for probably half of it, so I might get like a 4:20 average. Don't care about the pace,
Yeah, sure. So what's the weekly volume set at, like 130, 140 or something like that?
140, 150, around that, like in a solid, you know, base training phase.
So how long have you been with Jacko, you know, or with the Gold Coast Runco? And maybe you could tell us a bit more about what this Gold Coast Runco is all about.
Yeah, cool. So I believe since 2018, would be 2017, but let's just say 2018, since I've been there. So most of our group, it's actually like a social run club, or for the community basically. And what we're about, and even these values apply to our juniors, high performance, and everyone, it's all just kind of about getting everyone involved. It's a really close-knit community, encouraging each other and kind of sharing life through running, I guess. Because, you know, everyone works, everyone's got stuff on. We've, over the last 5 years, like in our high performance group, people come, gone. We've all kind of grown up a bit, got different things going on. But there's that core group kind of still there, the coaching. And you just rock up, like I said, once a week on a Saturday, have a coffee, catch up, what's going on. And that's a really core, important element to our group. It kind of keeps it going.
Having that around in the run community, we tend to be a lot of lone soldiers out there doing our own thing. So just having that connection, like you said, heading down on a Saturday and more of a catch up and have a coffee, just to bring a bit of more balance back into your life.
Yeah. I think even one week, like we went, it was for someone's birthday anyway, but we went like go-karting one week. Some weeks, you know, I might stay down and spend most of the day on the coast, or who knows. But yeah, socially, it is kind of, that's how I get down there on a Saturday now. It's not even for the running. I just tell myself, you know, let's go see Jordo, let's go see the boys, let's have brekkie, you know, let's catch up with Jacko and Tom. It's like, the running's great, and it is like a byproduct of that, but it's just great to see, my other mates and also the juniors that we've got a role in our high performance group of also kind of like guiding their pathway, but also like providing knowledge, experience, and kind of saving them time from the lessons that we've learnt. You know, hey, this might work. Hey, this doesn't. You're doing well here. Maybe don't do this. Yeah.
Yep. No, unreal. So you're only 23?
Yes.
Yeah. That's good, because you still got so much running ahead of you, but you're still like the senior boys. I guess when you're a 14-year-old, 23's an old man, isn't it?
Yeah, like that's what I mean. It does feel like I've been doing it for 10 years already. So.
Yeah. So that's your running. Do you do any other cross training? It's just mainly running, and what about your rehab stuff? Mobility?
I don't do any other like cardio cross training. The one thing that's, touch wood, haven't had a major injury for, couldn't tell you how long, but I do Pilates once a week.
In a group?
Yeah, so it's a group class, but it's mainly the guys, because I've been going so long now, they kind of designate it a lot towards running, like not 100% specifically. Like we do a bit of arm stuff, which look, you need. But yeah, a lot of it is very much specific to running. And it's great now after 5 years of that, like I'm in a maintenance phase of it. So I push where I can, but I don't like it affecting my training, especially so I do this a Wednesday night, and a good example is like if I've got hill reps Thursday morning, which is quite common, it's a pretty nasty turnaround, especially if, let's say, I do my midweek long run on a Wednesday. It's a lot for the legs. So some weeks, I'll rock up, do my class, I'll use lighter resistance. Same if I'm racing. Other weeks I might push a bit harder, but it's kind of just this average maintenance phase where it's ticking me over and keeping me with enough strength to keep me injury free.
Would you consider it more strength than mobility?
Yeah, definitely more strength. And probably mobility work. Yeah, look, probably need to do a bit more of that. I get to, I do a little bit here and there. More, I'd say, as a response to a sensational feeling than as a preventative. So I tend to do it if, let's say I do a track session and I feel restricted. I'll go, that sucked. I hated that. I need to be feeling, I like to feel like this. What do I need to do to feel like this? As opposed to having a structured weekly thing. Look, I could be more diligent with that, and I probably should be, and I'll be the first to say that.
Are there any certain areas that you always have to keep an eye on? Areas that tighten up, or whether it be calves or hips or...
Good question. So over the last probably 2 years, I find I usually get quite tight through my adductors, or tight. Yeah, probably tight. But the best way to describe it, anyone who kind of knows this feeling, it's restrictive. So you'll go to open up your stride. You might be fine at 3-minute Ks, but let's say you jump on the track and you just got to run that tiny bit quicker. It's just you can do it, but it's not easy. You lose all rhythm. Each step's independent of the previous, and you don't feel nothing's smooth. So it's a terrible feeling. I kind of got a little bit at the moment, but I've got my coping and I guess mechanisms in place. So to elaborate on that, I usually jump on the roller, but it's not as simple as that. It's really hard to kind of get, and it looks hilarious. So imagine lying face down, having your leg up at 90 degrees, and then you've kind of got to roll through it in your adductor a little bit, but even that sometimes doesn't get it.
I think I know what you're talking about, and maybe a few other people listening have, because generally I get tight through the adductor sometimes, especially in the real long stuff, and I tend to get on the roll and try and get in that area, and if anyone was looking, they'd go, what the hell is going on over there? Because you tend to just go looking for it, and you put your body in these weird positions because you sort of know what you're trying to get onto.
Yeah, it looks hilarious. The other one I've found which gives relief, I just can't afford it all the time, is dry needling at the physio. I'll try and do every few months. I'd love it more regularly, but that's life. Just before Gold Coast, so I saw my physio, the same guy that takes my Pilates class. He managed to trigger point it, because that's the thing about this, I can't do it. It's in such a hard place yet. It's almost from behind and underneath. Everyone takes a piss out of me at training. It looks like I'm sticking my finger up my butt when I'm trying to get it. But he can lie me on my stomach and get in near my hamstrings, kind of a bit further up, and apply enough force that I can't do to myself. And that released it really well before Gold Coast. So that was a good eye-opener for me, and something I'll probably keep doing before big races.
Some of those things, you just can't get into it. I think I had something similar to that a long, long time ago, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it just kind of persists. Mine never really worsens, but it's just a byproduct, I find, of high volume training. Your body's just tight from big months, big weeks, and then you try and run quick, or try and run literally a bit quicker and open up, and it's just not happening.
Load versus capacity. That's what we're always fighting against, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. Trying to walk that line.
Exactly. Mate, let's head over to some half marathons you did in 2019. Interested in having a look at them. One at Maragami there, the international. So first of all, why did you head over there? So that was February. Yeah, like I said, 2019. You ran at 66:31.
Yes, cool. So I went over there with Joe Burgess from Sydney. And our aim of the trip, or aim of doing that race, was to qualify for World Uni Games, which I believe was in Naples that year. I think the time was 1:07 we needed. But yeah, there were three stronger runners, or 3 faster times or something. So yeah, even though we ran the time, we didn't end up getting selected that time around.
Yeah, right.
But it was a PB at the time, so I was very happy with it.
Yeah, definitely. Was that your first run in Japan?
Yeah, it was. And a race I'd love to get back to sometime. I really rate it for any, listeners looking for a fast half marathon that's close to home in a cool place, and also for a holiday. Like Marugami's something you can do, a holiday and a run in a week, Australia, and not be jet lagged.
Yeah, there's so many pluses about that, isn't there?
Yeah.
The time zone, the shorter flight. Yeah, February is probably like 4 or 5 degrees.
Oh, it was like 2 at 9 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing, you can, I don't know if you got my profile up or something. I think I was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So the depth of that race, I saw another stat. I think it was the year Brett won and ran our national record. Something like 100 or 200 people under some stupid time. Like the depth of it, it's
Unreal.
Not just the winners, but the depth of that race for anyone looking to run quick, really good place to go.
Copenhagen, you went over there in September. You ran a little bit quicker, 65:40. What was that trip all about?
Yeah, so that was, I'm just trying to think where I was in terms of, because I was still studying, but I think I just wanted to, get away, see a mate, do something different, chase a half. Once again, I think I was probably trying to qualify for maybe World Unis, maybe something else, maybe just wanted to run a PB, who knows? I actually can't remember. But I did go for mainly a holiday after it. So I kind of did Copenhagen at the start of my trip and then had a holiday after it. But the cool thing about that race, which I still tell a lot of people, is that was the year that Camora ran 58:01 there.
Okay.
It's not the world record at the moment. I think it was pretty close to it at the time. That's still ridiculously quick. And I have this running joke with everyone as well about that race, because I kind of blew up like the last 5K. I went out, pretty quick for my standards at the time. And I was complaining, about, I think to Louis specifically, about this headwind and, a little bit uphill towards the end. And then I came across the finish line. They still had his winning time up there. And, 58:01, especially 3 years ago, was even more ridiculous than it is now. And I was almost just a little bit offended that someone seemed to, not have too much trouble in the back end of the course. And I was complaining around, I was like, the course wasn't great, which for anyone wanting to know, it's rapid. It was just me blowing up. Pretty funny. Another great run that I'm very lucky to have done.
Let's talk about 22, starting at Zatopek there. Now, you'll tell me why the 30:21 isn't a fast time for your standards, so let's talk about that one.
Yeah, so that's a really good one because, sorry, not the race, but a good talking point. So I'd rolled, 3 weeks, I think, up in January, up at Falls Creek, with a lot of other Australian distance runners, and things were going really well up there. Like, I knew I was in shape, probably had the best session of my life up there, and I also kind of tell a lot of people now, like I probably had my Zatopek up there, which is quite common. Like I'm not experienced at altitude, getting more experienced. But yeah, only came down 2 or 3 days before. That might have played a part. Who knows? Might not have. So I think generally I was a little bit on the tired side, but the way I felt was unreal. What actually happened during that race was I got like this abdominal cramp, which I had. Can probably see it in my other results as well. Sunny Coast last year, I had a bit of a stinker. So same thing, I had an abdominal cramp from overhydrating, which I believe. And I've kind of changed that and haven't had it since. Basically what happens is I'm sitting in a hotel room like we all are the day before, a bit nervous, or the day of, like Zatopek, it's a nice night race. I'm sitting in aircon all day. And what do? You're like, I don't want to move. I just kept sipping on a water bottle. I think I drank 2 or 3 water bottles, and like I never do that. And yeah, I think that's what's actually causing it. Fingers crossed, because I haven't had it again. It's completely debilitating and the worst feeling.
Is that the back end of the race?
Kicks in, both times it has been. Zatopek, actually, I wouldn't even call it the back end. Like it was like 5.5K.
Okay.
So I was going through pretty well with Andre Waring. Like he'll even second this. We were talking to each other. Like it was a hot day, but I still think, it was possible to run a lot quicker than definitely what I ran.
Sure.
But yeah, we were talking to each other saying, we'd kind of gap the main part of the field. And we're like, 2 laps each. If we keep rolling strong, we'll pull away here and probably stay away from the main part of the field. And all of a sudden, this thing set on, and shocking. Yeah, I still finished the race, which I'm not even going to say I'm proud of that, but I got there. Yeah, it was very, very grim and something I hope I don't experience again. And I hope I've learnt from that. Fingers crossed I've nailed it on the head, which I think I have. A lot of guys that day, it was the heat. That wasn't my thing. We trained through the heat in summer up here. Like that 10K I ran my PB out in Queensland, like same thing. It was probably maybe not quite as hot, but not far off it. Like that's pretty, and Noosa, that's another one that's stinking hot. Our summer, we'll run 30, 32 degrees. You just suck it up.
Yeah, well, like I said, fingers crossed. Hopefully that's all it was, mate.
Fingers crossed, yeah, because it is completely debilitating. There's no other word to describe it. It's not like a breathing or something.
Shoving your thumb into it?
Yeah. So I had to run with my hand pretty much in my ribs, and then after doing that, as soon as you take your hand out, it gets even worse. So it's something that continues to develop and get worse until you stop. Like it resorted to me running around lakeside with one hand in my ribs and the other hand on my head. Never a nice feeling.
Were you concerned that it was a bit more serious than that?
I knew it was maybe also because of might be a little bit ignorant at my age as well, but that thought never entered my head. And I had experience before at Sunshine Coast, so I hadn't drawn the link at that point in time. But after Melbourne, the two similarities are basically just sitting around in a hotel room just drinking water.
In March, you mentioned there before, you headed over to Portugal there to compete in the World Cross Uni Games. So tell us about that. Ed was over there. You finished 9th in 28:40. You happy with that race and that whole trip?
Yes and no. Great trip. Loved meeting a lot of athletes around Australia, and Benny was our team manager, Benson Lawrence.
Oh, I know.
Loved meeting him. Learnt heaps off him as well. How the actual race played out. Look, it was... I don't know if anyone saw the course of the live stream. It was a shame, or for me anyway. It was probably the worst course you'd hope to, travel to the other side of the world and run a cross country at. It was either 1,500 or 2K lap. Maybe every corner was basically a U-turn. The course was gravel and mud. So basically what I'm saying is you could not get any momentum, speed. I guess that's cross country, but it was just not flowing at all, even towards the last lap. So you're constantly decelerating and accelerating. There were never any straights. Course just looped back on itself. So I struggled with that. Being I was one of the fitter guys in that race. So was Ed. Ed had COVID the week before. So that definitely lets him off the hook. But we were both, Ed and I, prior to going over, hoping to do a little bit better. Nonetheless, I'm still proud of 9th. Guys that finished right up there. Incredible athletes. A few of the guys that I'm still in touch with now have gone on to run 3:40 for the 1,500 this season, and a few other incredible times. I think there was a low 28 in there, and then I think there were Ugandan athletes that won it. They were just another level again. But I would have liked to, same like the Gold Coast analogy, be in the race a bit more. Because I went to the front very early, and the theory behind this was because the course was so windy, even if you don't want to be at the front, you actually just have to be there because there's 60 aggressive men, running a race that you might, I knew it was my last year, so I'm not getting another shot at it. It's a very... it's an opportunity you don't get back. So you got to go to the front on a course like that and try and run the shortest distance and the cleanest race. And also just, it didn't work out for me. So that was why I went to the front. And they made a move at 4 or 5K, and I just had nothing. Look, might not have been good enough, might not have been strong enough. Maybe the half the week before took a bit out of the tank. But the one part I was really impressed about that race was... So I think it was the 4th lap, or I did have a really good lap towards the end. When it's not a great race, but you've got a choice to kind of fight for, let's say 13th or 12th. You can fight for something that on another day doesn't mean too much. But when you're wearing the green and gold and you got your mates beside you, I was very proud of the way I battled for, there were other athletes for other countries that kind of threw in the towel. Okay. Had this British bloke, ended up beating him, and same thing. We had a massive battle, and I just fought really hard, even though it was something where it's not one of my best races, but I fought as hard as I could, and that's really important when you wear the green and gold.
In June, mate, Oceania Champion. That sounds pretty good. You won the 10,000 metres up there in Mackay in 29:49.
Yeah, so after COVID and stuff, yeah, kind of just wanted to get as many opportunities as I could. Just applying for things, repping. Like World Uni Games, I applied for that and was lucky enough to get selected as well, but that got canned. So yeah, then I decided to apply for Oceanias pretty late and was like, let's try and get a 10,000 out. I was racing. I'd already teed up Launceston because that was 7 days later. So I knew I was already going to that. Got to Mackay. Look, everyone who saw the race or seen the results, like it's not a crash hot place to run a 10,000. I knew I was racing 7 days later. Once again, you don't want to take piss out of the race or anything. So I got to a point where I was 2 or 3 laps up. Still kept running pretty hard, but at the end of the day, like you're very hot, humid. If I break myself, I wouldn't have gone too much quicker for not a lot of gain to race in 7 days' time. So I was hoping to A, get the win, but B, not do a whole lot of damage to the body with other races coming up.
Was that an evening race?
No, I think it was like 3 p.m. in the Arvo. Yeah, so it caught me off guard, actually. It was very humid up there. I just assumed because it's winter, maybe not. But yeah, it was oddly humid, not pleasant at all for distance running.
In May, down to Sydney for the Sydney Morning Herald Half, finishing second there behind Liam. He loves to win that race down there. Liam Adams. You ran 65:33. Happy with that?
Yeah, for the unseeing that, or running that course unseen. Anyone who knows that one,
it's got a few hills in it.
It's a shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd seen the elevation profile, but running it's another story again. Credit to Liam Adams the way he runs that. Like I might be more brave if I run it next year to kind of go out with him or near. But so basically he just attacks from the start. The first 4K is pretty much downhill. But in saying that, the last 4K, you've got to come all back up it, and it's rolling hills pretty much the rest of the race. So knowing that, I, didn't go with it. I felt like I ran pretty well through the race. I think I had the quickest split through the back 10K, but, that means nothing if you're going through 40 seconds off the pace. Like it was a good run, my terms for not seeing the course. I definitely think just running that course more efficiently, I could gain 40 seconds, 30 seconds. But yeah, very happy with second that day. And I still remember the DOMs that I woke up with the next day. That was, it's far from an easy run, that course.
No, definitely. You've got to be in shape. Definitely. I went there, not in great shape. And and there's nowhere to hide when you hit those little risers. And it's like, God, this is tough.
Kind of. How about that last little kicker as well? I don't know the name of Sydney's places. Is it a seat or something near the water? It's like 19K. You run down through the park.
Yeah, Lady Macquarie's chair.
That one. Yeah, so there's a little kicker coming back up that road. And that adductor, what I spoke about previously with my adductor, it literally had like cramped or locked by about 19 and a half K. I had to get up this hill, and my stride at that point in time just was so short and restricted. I just didn't know if I was going to get to the finish line, and we're all 40 seconds apart. So that was the worst part about it, like in the sense of like I knew I had so much time, but it was a weird situation in the sense of like, can I get myself another K and a half? Just a shocking feeling. But yeah, I managed to get there, and on a different day, if that happens at Gold Coast, like you lose 3 spots in the last K. So that was a good learning experience from that race. I need to get on top of those things because on a different day, if I don't have a 40-second buffer over Liam Burton behind me, he comes through, cleans me up, I might have moved down to 5th.
Sunshine Coast, 4 weeks' time, you've got the Aussie Half Marathon champs. You going to line up?
No, so I'm having what am I doing? I'm doing Sydney Harbour 10K this weekend. Did a local 10K last week, jetty to jetty, and probably doing park to park half marathon the week after that. So I'm going to do 3 weeks in a row, and probably after that have at least a week or 2 off. Like I might do Sunny Coast 10. It could be pushing the envelope, but I'm going to wait till not long before it. Just see how the body's going. Maybe even city to surf, but I just kind of want to negotiate through these 3 weeks in a row. Mainly this weekend anyway, being Harbour 10. That's the one I'm going to run the hardest out of the 3. Like this is obviously all out, pretty big race. So yeah, see how I go, probably start of August, but heading over to Europe late August, September to do a few road races over there. So that is the kind of priority. And if it means I have to miss a little bit domestically here at the start of August, then look, I don't like doing it or missing it, but if you want to run your best, I feel like I might have to have a bit of downtime before I go over.
For sure. Tell us about heading over. Where you heading? What are you going to do?
Yeah, sweet. So I'm very lucky. I won a Red Bull Trailheads race November last year down at it was at Gold Coast Hinterland somewhere. I'm terrible with names of places, but anyone, you can Google the race, you'll see it. It's like a 6K staged segment race.
Okay.
So these stages we could have as long as we wanted in between, but it's all on trail and very undulating. So it's an interesting concept in the sense that you imagine just flogging like a trail for a kilometre, and then you can have like 5 minutes. Yeah, so pretty cool race. Red Bull sponsored it, put it on, and the winner of that got to, free flights and a trip overseas to run the Red Bull 400. So that's what I'll be doing in Innsbruck. I think it's August 28th, or it's the same day as our national cross country. So, sadly, I won't be running that this year either.
Okay.
Are you aware, Aston, of the Red Bull 400?
No, that's what I'm about to ask you.
Yeah, all good. So, you know what a ski jump is? Yep, you basically run up that. It's 400 meters long.
Oh, okay, right.
You've probably seen videos that.
I think I have.
I'm genuinely scared for my own safety.
Yeah,
and
no,
the
I have seen that.
Worst part as well. It'll be great fun and a really cool experience. But there's heat, semis and finals, I believe, all in the same morning.
Yeah,
so it's going to become quite tactical in that sense, how to play it. Because obviously I want to progress as far as I can. Pretty cool experience. Big thanks to Red Bull for getting me over there and doing it.
So they'll pay the whole bill?
Yeah, they're paying for flights, accommodation.
Unreal.
And transport over there. So it is something that's the prize. We were talking to Courtney about it, and he said, "What do you want?" We said, "Something that only Red Bull can do." And so it is pretty cool. And I want to try and, once again, it's one of those opportunities you may not ever get back. Yeah. As odd as it is, it's you go into it, you want to try and win the thing.
Yeah, so, sure. Yeah, has Aussie ever won it?
I've got no idea. I had a look at the times though that it takes people to run this 400 meters, and we're talking 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Well, you don't run it, do you? You're pretty much climbing at the top.
Yeah, I think you get about 20 or 30 meters where it might be by definition what we'd call running.
Yeah.
And then apart from that, I'm not going to do any specific training for it, so I expect to struggle. It looks something that suits a very powerful athlete.
Sure.
So look, I'll try my best, but just going off videos, times and stuff, I don't think I'll win the thing, but I would love to be in the final. And if you're in the final and can just have one run as, empty the tank. It'll be cool to see what I can do.
Yeah. And you mentioned Courtney. I assume you mean Courtney Atkinson?
Yeah. So
and he's run that before?
Don't think so, but don't quote me. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually don't know if he has. I'd assume it's a no. But he has done lots of other, I know he's run Fuji in Japan, done a few other things. He's always, hard to keep up with. He's always around the place with Red Bull, doing really cool things.
Is he still moving pretty well as a runner? Will he be at City Surf? Or? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, should see him through. I haven't been down there for a while, but on a Tuesday at the Spit, I still see him on Strava. He runs with our group, so through the trails there at the Spit, and he gets going. It's slow through there, so it's on Strava it doesn't look anything impressive, but anyone who's run there or done our sessions there knows how hard that is and how fast that actually is. The other part I didn't elaborate on, so I'm using that trip to hopefully run a 10K in Prague. So 7 days later, a 10K in Prague, have week or two off, but training in London, and then racing Copenhagen again in September.
Okay, unreal. They're getting 40 degrees over there at the moment. That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not over there.
Yeah. I was thinking about talking about soccer before. English Premier League teams that are over here, they're probably stoked they're not over there running around in that.
Yeah. Did you also see there was, I think they asked Bruno Fernandes the other day, or he said on the side, he's like, it's colder than England. I'm like, oh, well, maybe they've acclimatized to the heat, maybe, because I think they were cold in Melbourne.
Yeah.
But that'd be pretty normal for what they deal with for 6 months of the year at least.
Which
Maybe
team
more.
do you barrack over there?
I'm a massive Liverpool fan, and I
Okay.
do have tickets to the Liverpool versus Wolverhampton at Anfield at the start of August. So
Okay, yeah, right, yeah,
I'm
unreal.
very keen for that.
Yeah.
Also impulsively bought tickets to the World Cup with training mate Jordan McLennan for later in the year.
That's awesome.
So right into it, yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned, via texting a while ago that I got to see the final round when I was over there a couple of months ago, and I was watching the final scores. They weren't putting them up on the electronic board, so I was just sort of looking at final scores, and when Liverpool were up and Man City were down, I thought, oh, you're kidding me? Could they do it? And for them to come out and score 3 goals in 5 minutes and take it away, and it was nasty. And I was watching Arsenal versus Everton, and Everton obviously don't like Liverpool, so they were. Even though we Arsenal beat them 5-1, they were going nuts in the crowd because they realised that Man City got it, not Liverpool. But yeah, it was an exciting finish to the season, and that was my first Premier League match to go and watch, so it was an incredible experience.
That would have been a pretty cool experience.
Yeah,
that whole last day last season was something that might only happen once a decade, once every 20 years. So it's pretty cool.
All right, so you mentioned what's happening there. Look, you've done. I don't want to put the pressure on, but when's that debut marathon coming? Like Louis really set the standard high there, mate, with his 2:17. But what are your thoughts? You sort of holding off for a while? You still want to get a bit quicker over the short stuff, or?
I'd like to try one pretty soon. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. Gold Coast, I've said, like that's the place to do my first one, being from Brisbane. The other reason is, like it's financially you're not putting a lot of money down. Even if, like, let's say a blow up or something happens, like it's close to home. You just finish it, like whether it turns into a 2-hour 40 or you have a run like Louis did. You just that'd be the goal for my first one. Like get through and finish 42k. Know what that feels like. But yeah, not too far off. The only question mark for me that stops me putting a date on it is the transition from uni to work.
Sure.
So I should hopefully, we'll see what happens in the next 6 months. But if I can land a job, find a routine over Christmas, and hopefully start work, it's something I'll be thinking about come January.
What's the market like? Have you sort of got the feelers out there and you've got some rough ideas?
Not too much yet.
Okay.
I'm hoping to do that more in August / or even at least once I've got my second prac underway. So my uni subjects like that I'm about to start next week, they actually go through a lot of that stuff, how to help us, how to approach. Yeah, we got a few business-like subjects in that sense. So even after doing those 3-week intensive units, I'm going to wait and even quiz my lecturers and stuff like that and get a bit more of a idea / real world experience before I kind of go head hunting with no experience.
Okay, Tim, mate, that's a wrap. Thanks heaps for finding time to chat to me today. It's been a pleasure. You're certainly one of the distance running stars that we've got coming up. The age of 23, there's obviously a big future ahead. All the best with all your races coming up in the next few weeks, mate. If we could all follow along with the journey, maybe I can whack some of your social handles down there, possibly Instagram. You happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, throw my Insta on there.
Awesome.
Whatever else, I'm pretty crazy. And thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
No, it's been great, Tim. All right, thanks heaps, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks,
you.
Mate. Okay, bye, mate.
See ya. Bye.
Hey, listeners, hope you're really enjoying the interviews that the podcast is providing you. Hours and hours goes into getting these episodes out to you from go to woe. So you could just give me less than a minute of your time in return and rate and review the podcast, just to increase its visibility so more people like you can enjoy listening to these runners' stories and journeys. I reckon the more exposure these athletes get, the stronger our sport will become. That'd be great. Thank you. Cheers.